Gather around, dear friends, and let me tell you a tale that begins on a stormy night when one wrong call changed everything. This is a story of fate, of secrets unearthed in the dark, and of lives intertwined by a moment of chance, with a thin line between love and terror blurred into an endless enigma. Sit back and listen closely, for every word holds the weight of a destiny rewritten. Every pause is a heartbeat echoing in the corridors of time, and every twist is a reminder that sometimes a single call can unravel the very fabric of our existence. It all began in a quiet town, one where the nights were long and the whispers of the wind told stories of lost souls and hidden truths. The clock had just struck midnight, and a fierce storm raged outside, lashing against the windows of a modest apartment. In that apartment lived a man named Alexander, a solitary figure whose life had settled into a quiet monotony, a life filled with routine phone calls, mundane tasks, and the slow passage of time that left him feeling as though he were merely a ghost wandering in his own world. Alexander was not a man of great ambition or remarkable pasts. He was an ordinary soul who had long since surrendered to the humdrum of everyday existence. Yet, fate has a curious way of stirring the still waters of the ordinary. And on that fateful night, as rain pounded the pavement and the wind howled like a chorus of lost spirits, his phone rang, a ring that would echo through the annals of his life. At first, Alexander hesitated. The call was unexpected, its number unfamiliar, and he wondered if it might be a wrong number or a prank, a mere interruption in his solitary vigil of routine. But something in the persistent ring, in the way it broke through the drumming of the storm, compelled him to answer. "Hello," he said in a voice that trembled with both apprehension and curiosity. A pause, then a voice, soft, almost ethereal, yet imbued with an urgency that belied its delicate tone. "Alex, is that you?" the voice asked, and in that moment, the air grew thick with mystery. There was no hesitation, no pleasantries, only an unmistakable familiarity that sent a chill down his spine. It was as if the voice carried with it fragments of memories, echoes of a past long buried and yet not forgotten. "Who is this?" Alexander replied, his voice barely above a whisper, his mind racing through recollections he had long locked away. But the voice persisted. "You don't remember me, do you? I'm calling because you must know the truth." And with that, the call ended abruptly, leaving Alexander clutching his phone as if it were a lifeline to another world, a world where nothing was as it seemed. In the days that followed, Alexander's life was transformed. The wrong call had sown seeds of unease and wonder in his heart, and he found himself haunted by the mysterious voice. It was not merely a call. It was a summons, a beckoning from a realm of hidden truths and unspoken secrets. Driven by an insatiable need to unravel the enigma, Alexander embarked on a quest, one that took him far beyond the boundaries of his quiet town and into the depths of his own buried past. At first, he sought answers in the archives of dusty libraries and the murmurs of old friends who spoke in riddles about forgotten times. Late at night, in the silence of his lonely apartment, he pored over faded photographs and yellowed letters, searching for any sign of the voice that had so abruptly interrupted his life. And as he delved deeper, he began to piece together fragments of a story that was as strange as it was painful. The voice belonged to a woman named Isabel, a name that stirred memories of passion, loss, and a love that had once burned bright in a time long past. Isabel, as it turned out, had been more than just a passing fancy in Alexander's youth. She had been his first love, a vibrant soul whose laughter filled his days and whose touch had awakened in him a longing for life. Their love, though intense, was doomed by circumstances neither of them could control. They had been separated by time, by family expectations, and by the cruel hand of fate that had cast them into different orbits. Alexander, forced to choose between a life of safe, conventional choices and the wild, uncharted territories of the heart, had chosen security over passion. In doing so, he had allowed the memory of Isabel and the promise of what might have been to fade into the shadows of regret. But now, on that stormy night, as the voice of Isabel whispered to him from the ether, the past surged forth like a tidal wave. "Alex, remember me," the voice pleaded during the call, and though the connection had been lost, its impact was indelible. Alexander was compelled to seek her out, to confront the ghost of a love he had thought he'd long buried. His search led him to a rundown mansion on the outskirts of town, a place where the echoes of laughter and sorrow mingled in the creaking corridors. The mansion, shrouded in the gloom of years gone by, held the remnants of a life that once thrived on passion and dreams. Within its walls, Alexander discovered more than he had ever anticipated. Amidst dust-laden furniture and portraits faded by time, he found clues, letters, photographs, and personal mementos that spoke of Isabel's life after their parting. Each item was a piece of the puzzle, a glimpse into a story of love, betrayal, and a sacrifice that had altered the course of both their lives. The letters revealed that Isabel had been forced into a life of secrecy, hiding her true self behind a facade of normalcy, while nursing a secret that threatened to shatter the fragile balance between light and darkness. She had left behind a trail of cryptic messages, each one a beacon leading Alexander further into the labyrinth of her hidden existence. As days turned into weeks, Alexander's investigation took on a life of its own, drawing him into a vortex of suspense and dread. He began to receive more calls, each one at odd hours of the night. Voices that whispered warnings, voices that hinted at dangers lurking in the shadows. There were times when he would be jolted awake by the shrill ring of his phone, only to hear a series of cryptic numbers or a distorted voice that left him trembling with fear. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and Alexander found himself questioning whether he was being drawn into a conspiracy, a web of secrets that spanned decades and touched upon the very core of human existence. One rainy evening, as Alexander sat by a window watching the storm rage outside, he received another call. This time, the voice on the other end was calm, measured, and chillingly detached. "You must leave this town, Alex," it intoned, "for the truth you seek is more dangerous than you can imagine." The warning was stark, yet it only deepened his resolve. How could something so frightening be linked to the love he had once known? And what secret lay hidden in the depths of a past he had long tried to forget? Driven by equal parts fear and determination, Alexander set out on a journey that would lead him to confront not only the specter of Isabel, but also the darkness that had been festering in his own heart. Along the way, he encountered characters as enigmatic as they were foreboding. A woman with eyes like molten silver who spoke in riddles, a disheveled old man whose memories were as fractured as the mirror of time, and even a stranger who claimed to have once been close to Isabel. Each encounter brought with it a piece of the puzzle, a fragment of a story that was as heartbreaking as it was mysterious. In a dusty cafe in a forgotten part of the city, Alexander met Mary Ann, a woman whose very presence exuded both warmth and sorrow. Mary Ann, it turned out, had been Isabel's closest friend, a confidant who had witnessed firsthand the passion and despair that had defined their tumultuous relationship. Over cups of bitter coffee and amidst the soft hum of melancholic music, Mary Ann recounted the tale of Isabel's last days, a time when love had been twisted into a cruel game of survival, when the boundaries between friend and foe blurred into an indistinguishable haze. Mary Ann spoke of a secret society, of clandestine meetings held in abandoned warehouses under the cover of darkness, and of a mysterious figure who had been the architect of a series of events that left Isabel forever changed. The more Mary Ann revealed, the more Alexander felt as though he were walking a tightrope suspended above a chasm of horrors, each step precarious and laden with the potential for despair. As the investigation deepened, Alexander discovered that the wrong call had been more than a random mistake. It had been a deliberate act, a spark set to ignite a chain reaction that would expose hidden truths and unravel long-forgotten lies. It was as if someone or something had been watching him, guiding him toward a destiny he had never chosen. Late one night, while rummaging through a box of old photographs in his attic, Alexander found a faded picture of a young woman with eyes that mirrored the intensity of a storm. The resemblance to Isabel was undeniable, and the photograph bore a date that coincided with a fateful moment in his youth, a moment he had long suppressed. The image was a key, a portal to a past that refused to remain buried. With trembling hands, he traced the contours of the woman's face, and in that silent communion with memory, he vowed to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The journey took him to forgotten places, a derelict mansion on the edge of town, an abandoned railway station cloaked in mist, and even to the heart of a desolate forest where the wind whispered secrets to those brave enough to listen. In each location, Alexander found clues left behind like breadcrumbs on a dark trail, a handwritten note tucked into the crevice of an old desk, a torn scrap of fabric stained with memories, and a recording of a voice that seemed to belong to a ghost. These fragments, seemingly insignificant on their own, began to coalesce into a narrative of passion and peril, a narrative that pointed to a conspiracy far more intricate than he had ever imagined. Throughout his quest, the specter of horror lurked in the shadows. There were nights when Alexander felt as though unseen eyes were watching him, following his every move with silent, malevolent intent. The wrong call had opened a door to a world where reality and nightmare converged, a world where the past could bleed into the present, and where the price of truth was measured in the currency of terror. In the dead of night, as the wind howled and the darkness pressed in from all sides, he would hear footsteps echoing in empty corridors, and he would catch glimpses of shapes moving just beyond the reach of the light. Each moment was a test of courage, a challenge to his sanity, as he waded deeper into the murky waters of a mystery that threatened to consume him whole. Yet, amid the fear and the darkness, there flickered a light, a promise of love that had survived the ravages of time and loss. For as Alexander unraveled the threads of the mystery, he began to realize that the call was not solely a harbinger of doom. It was also an invitation to rediscover a love he had thought lost forever. In a chance encounter at a quiet park, beneath the gentle glow of a street lamp, he met Elena, a woman whose compassion and quiet strength stirred something long dormant within him. Elena, with her soulful eyes and a smile that carried the warmth of spring, listened as Alexander recounted the events that had so shattered his world. And in her empathetic gaze, he found a glimmer of hope, a promise that even in the midst of darkness, love could bloom anew. Their connection grew slowly, like a fragile flower emerging after a long, bitter winter. Elena became Alexander's confidant, his partner in the quest for truth. Together, they pieced together the puzzle, following leads that took them to the underbelly of the city, to hidden archives and secret meetings where whispers of the past mingled with the present. Elena's unwavering belief in the power of love and redemption rekindled in Alexander a determination he had thought long extinguished. With her by his side, the oppressive weight of the mystery seemed a little lighter, the path ahead a little clearer. As the final pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, the true horror of the situation emerged. A horror not in the form of a monster or a spectral force, but in the chilling realization of human frailty and the consequences of choices made in the name of passion. It turned out that Isabel's disappearance, the very event that had shattered Alexander's youth, was not a random tragedy, but a meticulously orchestrated act. The call he had received, the series of cryptic messages, and the clues strewn along his path were all part of a grand design. A design to bring the sins of the past to light, and to force those involved to face the repercussions of their actions. In a heart-stopping climax, Alexander and Elena found themselves in a decaying warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a place where the echoes of laughter and agony mingled in the damp air, and where the shadows seemed to dance with the ghosts of memories. There, amidst the rusted machinery and the pervasive stench of decay, they confronted the man behind the mystery, a man whose face was obscured by a hood, whose eyes burned with a cold, unyielding intensity. The confrontation was as swift as it was brutal. Accusations were hurled like daggers, and the true motives behind the call were laid bare. a long-forgotten betrayal, a love turned sour, and the desperate machinations of a soul who had been consumed by guilt and vengeance. The revelation was as terrifying as it was liberating. Alexander learned that the wrong call had been a deliberate act, a call meant to force him to confront the ghosts of his past, to make amends for a love he had lost, and to face the consequences of a life filled with regret. In that charged moment, as thunder roared outside and lightning etched patterns of fury across the sky, Alexander felt a strange sense of clarity. The horror of the revelation was not just in the darkness it revealed, but in the hope that came with understanding, a hope that even the deepest wounds could begin to heal, that love, in its truest form, was capable of redemption. In the days that followed the climactic confrontation, the storm within Alexander's soul began to subside. The mystery that had once threatened to engulf him receded like the tide, leaving behind a raw, honest clarity. He and Elena continued their journey together, not as victims of the past, but as survivors determined to forge a future unburdened by the shadows of what had been. The call that had once heralded doom had, in a twist of fate, become the catalyst for transformation. It had shattered the illusions of a safe, predictable life and forced Alexander to confront the complexities of love, loss, and the human capacity for both cruelty and compassion. And so, dear listeners, as I bring this tale to its close, remember this. Sometimes a single wrong call can change everything. It can open doors to mysteries that lie hidden in the darkest corners of our hearts, force us to face truths that we would rather leave unspoken, and, in the end, guide us on a path toward redemption and renewal. Alexander's journey, a journey marked by suspense, drama, mystery, horror, love, and thrill, is a testament to the resilience of a human spirit, to the power of confronting our past, and to the belief that even in our most desperate moments, there's a spark of hope that can lead us to a brighter tomorrow. So, my friends, let this story be a reminder. When the phone rings in the dead of night, listen closely, for it may be more than just a wrong call. It may be the call that changes your life forever. And now, as you step back into the night, remember that every moment holds the potential for wonder and terror, for love and despair. In the echoes of that wrong call, in the whispers of secrets long kept, there lies the promise of a new beginning. May you find the courage to answer the call when it comes, and may the mysteries of your own heart guide you toward the light, even when all seems lost.